So the first thing to do is to make sure these limbs are in the right place, especially the outline. You might find that a bent gouge like this works well for getting into these sort of tight corners up here. Don't worry about the tool marks, in fact you can leave those to give a certain roughness to the bark. Head them down. So I work down from the leaves downhill into this bit here, into the trunk proper. Then when you're dividing here, not too many hard edges, and push this bit down into here. I've got a little skew chisel and you can start hollowing that out, getting the shadow into there. And the skew chisel itself you can use to just dress the surface and round over the edges. So creating quite a deep shadow in there, and in this one too, on this side there'll be a division, so we'll separate that off, and again we've got to hollow this out, picking it away, and then slowly deepening that. And again, right at the end, we can use our punch to make that even deeper down there once we've got in there and cleaned up. So, working downhill, not worrying about the tool marks, trying to get these corners rounded here a little bit. To pick the right tool for that, so it's not too hard an edge. And over here. So bring these branches all down to this centre bit here. So we come down to the trunk, which is a little bit awkward because we have the grain coming in both directions. Get the shape right, and then you can start just running little lines, sort of little grooves, like spiralling around the tree. So a good stylised way of doing bark is just to run simple lines like this. So run them down from the limb into the trunk. They sort of energise the tree a little bit. I think that's one of the nice things about them. I've turned the carving through 180 degrees, which I think you can see better what's going on. So I'm sweeping up to the trunk here, switch to a slightly larger, wider gouge. So I'm just decorating the surface of the trunk, give it a little bit of detail, a little bit of interest. So now we're left with, once we've got this all sorted out, we're left with finding something to do with the roots and the rock. So this is a little bit like painting, where we're just sort of stroking the surface, trying to get some interesting sort of patterns and suggestions of the tree. So coming down to the top of the banner, stab that all in with a chisel, like so, and make sure that it's the same thickness of banner all the way along. Then we can start checking that this hill is an interesting shape. Anything more we want to do with that. We're going to try and get the tree to go around the back of the grass a little bit, so we'll bring that over here. So this is like one edge of the tree there, of the trunk rather. Then over this side we'll emphasise that a little bit. So the roots are going to be something like this. So they'll come over here, and we're not actually going to put roots in as such because they never look quite right, but this sort of loopy way of doing it, and then continue with the tree coming up from this part, from above that sort of rough line, and then below that line we can give more sort of scalloped look to the rock. So this is quite subtle. We don't need big sort of root bits sticking out. We can just imply everything here. So lots of facets, quite randomly, using some different tools. Perhaps a bit of a root there, you see, just implied, and perhaps another one over here. And in particular pick up as I said, pick up this sense of the tree rising from the ground and passing up. So you've got sort of a movement this way and then movement going across underneath there. I've got the tree, I've got the whole carving up more vertical so I can see what's going on here. And I've created a sort of dish here so that the tree is within the surrounding ground. Then this surrounding ground here, I'm going to try and get these various subtle marks of the earth sort of heading round like this, so they sort of head round the back, and you can try and create rocks and things, but I think it's just enough to give yourself a sort of subtle background. And then the tree itself has these marks coming up this way from the ground. I've got the lines of the trees coming down and sort of ending fairly neatly so that the tree is separate from the ground, and lots of different facets, some big, some small, coming around this way, and that'll represent the earth. So when you've completed that section, we have a top line of the banner finished, and we can turn to the banner proper, and that's the rest of our carving.